All right, y'all. Let's see if Mr. Newton, aka the YTBC Cop, is actually telling the truth about the Manny Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford situation. So he made a follow-up video, pretty much attacking me indirectly and others. So let's put his truth meter. Let's put the truth meter to the test. So here we go.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
What I can't understand is how we continue to do this going around and around and around thing.
Exactly.
So,
And let me tell you why, because you keep on,
it came
sir.
out.
Hold on. The reason why you keep doing that is because we keep going on and around because you keep harassing me and other channels when we are not even coming to your channel. That's the problem. And based off your behavior, which is very disturbing if you ask me, you just crave the attention. And you're over there in Taiwan behind a computer. And you know that's your safe haven because you could say what you want to say. In reality, you don't have the heart or the guts to say any of the things that you spew in any of these guys' faces, including mine. So I thought I'd just go ahead and bring that out.
That Manny Pacquiao potentially is going to fight Jeff Horn, and that
You look nervous.
he didn't want to fight Crawford unless he was guaranteed $20 million, right?
He's priced himself out.
It was speculated that Crawford won at 7. He just came out and said that's not true.
Of course, it's not true. But anyways, Manny Pacquiao does have a right to demand $20 million. It is his right because he understands that if he's going to fight a guy like Crawford, who's young and in his prime, who's very skillful, that's a very dangerous fight for him to take. So he wants a very high reward with a high reward and high risk situation. So, yeah.
Or not accurate, which is fine. Because that was just secondhand information. Basically, not unlike what happened with Pacquiao. Because, of course, one of his people said that. So, but the issue is, what's the issue? Do we want to see Pacquiao fight Crawford? Yeah, we do. But what weight is this fight going to happen?
Well, before you continue, let me say something about that. Everyone wants to see people do want to see the Crawford and Pacquiao fight. No question about it. But the biggest issue here is that if you're not going to fight Crawford, fine, so be it. At least give someone else a shot at 147, okay? He is the alphabet holder and the lineal champion at that weight class at 147. And if he's freezing out all the other top contenders who are more deserving of a shot than Jeff Horn, then that's a problem. Now, if he refuses to give guys like Keith Thurman, Sean Porter, Earl Spence, or even Danny Garcia, well, you know what? Let's exclude Danny Garcia because he actually did duck the fight. Now, Earl Spence, Keith Thurman, and Sean Porter, if you're not going to give those guys a shot, then what you need to do is vacate the WBO belt and let somebody else fight for it. So that way we can get a unified, undisputed champion. Okay? And this is the reason why we're having this problem in debate and discussion now. Very similar to what Floyd Mayweather did when he was a reigning champion and #1 pound for pound. He was a lineal champion in 2 different weight classes and refused to defend his belts against the top upper launch of competition, which you complained about for years. So if Manny Pacquiao is taking the Floyd Mayweather route, which he is doing, which you guys can't openly admit, or you can't admit, then that's a problem with me. Okay? So again, I have no problem with him fighting Jeff Horn. That's fine. If he wants to do that, cool. But don't defend your title against Jeff Horn. That's just my opinion on it. I think he should vacate his title. Yes, he's still the lineal champion, so be it. But other than that, let someone else fight for the WBO belt if he refuses to defend it against other top upper launch competition. So, yeah. But then again, like I said, Pacquiao does have a right to fight whoever he wants, but I do have a right to go ahead and dispute who he's fighting, just like I disputed Floyd Mayweather, who he fought. And you had no problem with me doing that, and you did the same thing. But now you don't want me and others to question who Pacquiao fights. But go ahead, let's continue.
What date is this fight going to happen? And how much money are both guys going to get for this fight? And you know it's going to be pay-per-view. So, do you really think it's a big deal if they don't fight this April? If that fight happens sometime later in 2017? go around acting like this fight needs to happen right away. And the fact that it's not happening is this terrible fucking problem. Well, we know that a fight of this magnitude and this nature, they would much rather build it up anyway.
Here we go with this argument, building up the fight argument. Let's build up the fight. Let's build up the fight. All I gotta say is fuck building the fight, okay? Make the fight if you want the fight, okay? Because the last time we had to endure the build a fight situation, we saw how that turned out. And I'm referring to your man, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, how they engaged. Both men gave terrible fights, and both men, I believe, conned the public. And this is the reason why the pay-per-view market has drastically dropped. Severely. Okay? So now that Manny Pacquiao and his people have the nerve to ask for $20 million, knowing that they flopped on 2 pay-per-views, is a problem. And this is the reason why people are questioning their business motives right now. Okay? So, if Manny Pacquiao really wants to fight Terrence Crawford, yeah, he would have made the fight by now. Okay? If he wants to fight the other top contending welterweights, like Thurman, and even though he is occupied with Garcia or Spence or Porter, he would have made the fights already. But why is it now that you see, this is a problem when you say build a fight. First of all, again, build, if building a fight is, if he really wants to build a fight, then why couldn't he just build a fight with Jeff Horn, for example? Why? Yeah, man, this building the fight argument, man, I hate that logic. I'm just being honest with you. But let's continue.
Right? Like, Crawford is on record saying that he wants to unify titles at 140.
Exactly.
And he's been talking about potential fights with the champions at those weights.
And?
Right? So, there's an easy fight for him to get early on in 2000.
Before you continue, let me say something else about that. You make it seem like that it's unprecedented for a champion in one weight class to fight the other champion in another weight class. You make it seem that that's unprecedented. First of all, it's been done many times in history. Let's go back. We can go as far as back as let's say Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm not gonna go back that far because you're actually not gonna know history like I do. Sugar Ray Leonard, when he fought Ayu Kalu, okay. Sugar Ray Leonard was the welterweight champion. All right, this is a fight before he fought Hearns. He fought Kalu for the 154 championship. Okay, he was a 147-pound champion, and Kalu was the 154 champion, and he stopped Kalu in that fight and captured the title. All right, and then as soon as he beat Kalu, he vacated the title, went back down to 147, and got in a unification bout with Tommy Hearns back in '81. All right, same thing with Meldrick Taylor when he went up to fight. What's his name? Terry Norris. When Norris was calling him out, Meldrick Taylor responded to the challenge. So Taylor was the 147-pound champion. He went up to 154 to take a one-off fight with Norris, which was a terrible mistake because Norris was a much bigger guy. Taylor, the smaller man, showed heart, but he was outgunned in that fight. And every punch he threw at Norris, Norris had a very weak chin. Norris just walked through it. So, yeah. So, again, we've had one-off fights when champions have went up one weight class and went back down. Tommy Hearns went up. Well, he wasn't the 160-pound champion at the time when he went up fought Dennis Andre at 175 and then went back down to 160. But, yeah, it has happened before. So, let's continue.
2017. Potentially, he could get both of those fights in 2017 before a November date with Pacquiao anyways. And unify all those titles before even then stepping up to 147 to fight Pacquiao for his title. Right? And in the meantime, Pacquiao going to Australia to fight Jeff Horn, who is a former Olympian.
Yeah.
An undefeated prospect who is doing very well and is ranked highly in his title sanctioning body.
Yeah, that's true. Jeff Horn is highly ranked, and he is undefeated at this point. But you do know his greatest wins on his resume so far is against way over the hill guys like Randall Bailey and Ike and who's the other guy that he fought? Hold on, let me bring up Jeff Horn's record here. Who did he fight else other than Randall Bailey? Well, obviously, Randall Bailey is way over the hill and shot. And don't get me wrong, I like Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn is a very good guy. I like his style. I like his, I like his tenacity. So definitely a guy to look out for in the later on, the Hornet. as they call him. But anyways, his other his greatest win on his record is against Ali Faneka. Okay, so the same guy that beat Zahir Rahim, yeah, a while back. But other than that, those are his two greatest wins on his record. Okay, now there was a bit of an issue that had transpired with the WBO rankings because there was some dispute that Jeff Horn just leapfrogged Earl Spence in the rankings, and that caused some bit of controversy there. So, yeah, you can see that some people are kind of questioning why are you fighting Jeff Horn instead of fighting a guy like Errol Spence. So, yeah, and you say that Errol Spence is not proven. Well, Errol Spence has a better resume than Jeff Horn. Let's not get it twisted. He has a better resume than Jeff Horn. So basically, if you think that Jeff Horn is more deserving of a shot than Manny Pacquiao, then you are solely mistaken. And as I said once, and I'll say it again, you're definitely on that crack cocaine. So you need to get off of it. All right, so let's continue.
He didn't quite make 20 million against Vargas, which is surprising with the Mexican sort of following, which they felt that they would. But we know why that fight got hurt, because it wasn't on HBO, because HBO chose to go with Kovalev and Ward instead of Pacquiao and Vargas. And Pacquiao-Vargas still sold more. If HBO would have fucking put the Pacquiao-Vargas fight in there, then the fight would have done better, and Manny probably would have made about $20 million for that fight too. So consistently, he's pulling in about $20 million, if not more, for obviously bigger fights. His pay-per-view numbers are not that different than Canelo. Yet Canelo can offer, apparently, GGG $15 million to fight him, which means he's going to make way more, but no one questions that. But when Pacquiao says he wants $20 million, there's fucking an issue. He's ducking Crawford.
Well, there's a bigger problem there with your statement. You do understand that Canelo Alvarez is obviously a much bigger draw than Manny Pacquiao at this point. Okay, if you look at the last two pay-per-views, when Canelo Alvarez fought Amir Khan, that drew about what? More than half. It was about 666,000 buys, roughly around there. But before that, he drew with Miguel Cotto over 900,000 buys. Okay, and then of course with the Liam Smith fight, that was only 250,000 buys. But needless to say, to offset that, he sold out at the gate over 52 or 53,000 people at the gate in Texas Stadium. That right there was phenomenal for Canelo Alvarez. Okay, so those are two different situations. Okay, so in Canelo's situation, when he drew over 900,000 with Cotto, 600,000 with Amir Khan, and a little bit over 600,000 with Amir Khan, and 250,000 with Liam Smith, which is as low as output of last year. So if you combine those numbers together, Canelo is averaging roughly around well over 580,000 buys, maybe about mid 550,000 buys, while Manny Pacquiao in his last two pay-per-views. Well, Mayweather is gone, so he's retired. But other than that, his last two headlining pay-per-views, as you would say, he's averaging less than that. And plus, his gate receipts is nowhere near what Canelo Alvarez is doing so far. So at this point, yeah, Canelo is the bigger draw than Manny Pacquiao at this point. So let's continue.
But then when people like PP came out to say that, Crawford is ducking Manny because he wouldn't take the fight for $7 million, then
well, we already just resolved that issue. Crawford never asked for $7 million. Okay, I don't know why you keep reciting that. Okay, Bob Arum already confirmed that he never talked to Terrence or his team about discussing a purse amount for taking a Pacquiao fight. So let's continue.
People claim racism, attack the dude for just doing the same thing they did.
Well, let me touch up on that a little bit. Okay, first of all, the reason why they call Precise Percenter a racist is because, first of all, he uses a lot of racial epithets in his videos. So when he does that quite often, then you can see why they call him a racist on anything that he does, because all he does is slander African-American fighters. He does it constantly, or black fighters by that matter, like Guillermo Moreno now. He does it constantly, but he gives non-black fighters a pass for what the same shit that he accused the black fighters of doing. So let's continue.
Just towards
just like you.
the opposite guy. The guy who really, truthfully, deserves less and has done less.
We can agree on that.
And has never had a fight even close to that much money before.
We can agree on that. However, he never discussed this purse amount for the fight. So come on, relax.
Fights where he got paid way more money than $20 million. So when he asked for $20 million, to me, actually it seems low. The fact that he wants guaranteed $20 million, which basically means whether the fight sells or not. But with the Crawford-Pacquiao fight, you would think his upside would be far bigger than that anyway. Closer to 40, maybe possibly 50 million, right? Because isn't Crawford the future? You know, this is the thing that's funny, kind of ironic from lots of these people who you know, build guys up as being the next guys who should dominate boxing. But then they don't support them. And then you wonder why these guys aren't doing as well as they could be doing. Crawford had a pay-per-view that I have no issue with. I thought,
really?
It's a legitimate fight. He's fighting.
Well, first of all, a lot of people had issue with that pay-per-view, including Terrence Crawford supporters. Why? There are many videos that came out and spoke out against the fact that his fight was being featured on a pay-per-view against a guy named Victor Postol, who was also an unknown guy. So basically, you're the only one who actually was okay with the pay-per-view. Really? Oh, man, you are really on something, man. Let's continue.
Number 2 guy unification fight. If you put a good undercard.
Oh, I forgot to add. Yeah, I was totally against it as well. I spoke out against it. So we all knew it was inevitable how that pay-per-view was going to do very badly. So don't need to be shitting on Crawford for that. We all knew that was coming. But it is what it is.
On it, okay. People shit all over that. And it failed. It wasn't successful. And now he's reaping the repercussions of that. But now you guys want to point fingers, but you're the call.
Well, first of all, the reason why that pay-per-view failed is because Aram and his, well, not just Aram, it was Top Rank, or you could say HBO. They did little to nothing to market the fight. That was the problem. And of course, we all know HBO, your favorite network, they're in a severe budget crisis right now. So they're not going to throw too much money into marketing dollars against 2 unknown fighters who are not crossover stars. So you need to really get that in your head, dummy. Let's continue.
Because of his getting offered lower money and not getting the big fights, because you didn't support his pay-per-view. If you had paid for his pay-per-view and it had done big numbers,
I paid for it.
The Pacquiao-Crawford fight would have already been done, or at least it would be getting done now. Right? That's the reality. If they thought this was a big money fight, this fight would have been signed by fucking Top Rank Boxing. Easily, simple. It's an in-house fight for HBO. Everybody would have been on board. The reason it's not happening is because it wasn't successful. So
yeah, well, you should also know that due to the not so successful pay-per-view bout with Pacquiao and Tim Bradley 3, which was also a flop, HBO decided to not fund Manny Pacquiao's last pay-per-view. They made that clear. They will not put any more production dollars into that. So yeah, so both Pacquiao and Terrence Crawford are in the in a tough situation right now, trying to if they were to get this fight together, maybe between the two, they're in a pretty bit of a tough spot to sell this to HBO. Okay, so you can't. It's unfair for you to single out Crawford in this situation without realizing that Pacquiao is in the same boat where he flopped on his last pay-per-view. Well, last 2 pay-per-views, I should say. Well, the one on HBO, that's the one we're talking about with Bradley 3. So let's continue.
Now, Manny Pacquiao can go to Australia. It's a world fight.
World fight? Well, let's just say one thing. In Australia, maybe it'll be an attraction there in Australia, but we'll see. But you do have to understand, Australia is not the biggest capital when it comes to boxing. Okay, it's not the most popular sport over there. I would like to see it become very popular. You do realize that rugby is the most popular sport over there in Australia, so boxing's not very big over there. So you're way off on that. Let's continue.
Free on TV. Didn't all these PBC guys praise free fighting and say, why are you complaining about free boxing? Well, let me turn that back at you. Why?
First of all, you cannot answer a question with the question. Of course, you're directing that towards me indirectly, okay? First things first, you have a tendency of doing that. You crapped over Heyman and his platform on putting on free-to-air fights on PBC, okay? And yes, most of those fights were not the best quality. I get that. I criticize Heyman for that. Now, why is it now that you are upset when people are criticizing Pacquiao for taking a fight with Jeff Horn, and now you're saying, "Oh, it's free TV. Why are you complaining?" Well, okay, then why are you complaining about Heyman when he put on fights on free TV that are very low quality? This Jeff Horn fight with Manny Pacquiao is pretty low quality, and Jeff Horn is an overmatched guy. Let's be realistic and stop sugarcoating and stop trying to con people to believing that this is a very formidable fight. But hey, this is boxing. Anything can happen. If Jeff Horn does pull it off, if he does pull it off, great. But we all know that at this point he's outskilled, he's outgunned at this point. Even Pacquiao is past his prime. So let's continue and stop being a hypocrite.
Why are you complaining about free boxing?
We're not.
He's going to Australia. Some fighters, Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, and many others, never fight outside their country, never fight outside their hometown. Pacquiao had...
It's not the problem. Fighting outside your country is not the problem. The problem is why is he pricing himself out, which he has a right to do. See, you're trying to flip the script all over again. You have a tendency of doing this, Sean. Stay on topic now. Stay on topic.
He's always fought outside of his hometown, and now he's going to go to Australia, which is actually closer to where he's from. It makes sense. I don't know why he's never fought in Australia before. So
I already told you why. Australia is not very popular when it comes to boxing. It's not the biggest capital of box. It's not the boxing capital over there, dummy. Oh Lord, you're too easy to pick apart.
this is a good choice for him to go to Australia to fight this guy. Obviously, he's expected to win, but it's going to be a big event in Australia. It's going to pay him good money for a free fight.
How do we know that? I mean, where are the indicators that would state that this is going to be a big event in Australia if he goes over there and fight Jeff Horn? I don't see no indicators, but hey, we never know. We'll see. But there's no indicators. But, you know, like I told you, Manny Pacquiao's star power is declining. The last two pay-per-view fights have proved that. It has proven that point. So what makes you think that him going over to Australia will be a very, very big event over there for Australia? You have no evidence of that. There's no proof. But let's continue.
Which everyone gets to see, which helps market it. He should look impressive, maybe even score a knockout in this fight, which is only then going to make the Crawford-Pacquiao fight that much easier to make.
Well, before I continue, let me ask you this. If the fight does go to Australia, who's going to fund it? Who's going to fund the production costs? Top Rank going to do it? I seriously doubt that. HBO certainly may not do it. So who's going to fund the fight? That's a big question here, but let's continue. But obviously you don't have an answer to that.
That much bigger and that much more successful based on Manny Pacquiao pushing that fight, not on Crawford. Because Crawford's just not selling it. And that's not taking away him being a great fighter and a great Black American fighter and one of the top fighters right now. Because he is.
Let's put it this way. Terrence Crawford is much more known than Jeff Horn. So why are you advocating Manny Pacquiao for fighting nobody who's a prospect who's yet to be proven while Crawford has already been proven? You see the contradiction there, my friend? Actually, not my friend. Bruh. So stop doing this to yourself.
But he hasn't fought anybody to make him a household name.
Well, that may be true to some extent. However, Crawford is a two-division lineal champion. He has beaten bigger names than Jeff Horn, and Jeff Horn himself is not a household name. He hasn't beaten nobody compared to what Terrence Crawford has done. Nobody. So, yeah, you're wrong there. To a degree.
That's why he needs Pacquiao, because that
yes, he
is
does.
the fight that is going to set him up into that scenario.
I agree.
Pacquiao knows that. So, obviously, he wants to be paid accordingly. Which
yes.
potentially could be his last fight. If he
True.
goes out there and loses to Crawford, if it's a close fight, maybe they can do a rematch, right?
Which I don't see it being a close fight.
Crawford outboxes him, fights very safe and very negative like he did against Postol.
I doubt he'll do it with Pacquiao.
But it's not really too action-packed, and it's very similar to Floyd against Manny. At that point, actually it's not great for boxing. It's good for Crawford because at least he's fighting a pay-per-view star who is a world-recognized name.
Yes,
and that will help his name regardless of how he wins it. But for Pacquiao at that point, what is there left for him to do? and potentially fight a guy like Marquez or a rematch with Cotto, and then basically retire.
Well, just to make it clear, Marquez has made it clear that he does not want to fight Pacquiao again. He wants to fight Miguel Cotto. That's the fight that he wants. And Cotto certainly is not going to be interested in fighting Pacquiao again because, Pacquiao is going to want a catch weight, and he's going to want a rehydration clause like he did Cotto last time, several years ago. So that's not going to happen. Let's move along.
Right. Which is not a problem. Historically, guys have always done that. So why would we shit on guys doing that now? I really hope Cotto and Marquez gets made. I feel sort of upset that Cotto is fighting Kirkland as opposed to Marquez. I mean, obviously Marquez would want more money, but it would generate more money.
Well, you're missing the point on that situation, even though that's a different topic. The reason why the Marquez and Cotto fight fell through is because Marquez refused to budge on the weight. Cotto wants Marquez to come up to 154, and Marquez said no. He's either 147 or nothing. So Cotto said, okay, we can do it at a catch weight. And Marquez still declined. So that's the problem. There's a weight dispute there. And Cotto cannot make 147 anymore. He's not going to put himself where he's going to drain himself like he did with Pacquiao. So he's not going to do that again. So let's continue.
It'd be considered more of a pay-per-view fight than Cotto fighting Kirkland, who just got fucking knocked out cold and hasn't done anything in the meantime.
Yeah, true.
If Manny Pacquiao loses to Crawford, then what happens to the Lomachenko fight? That never materializes. Does he end up fighting any of the other top guys at 147? No, they're all under Heyman and stuff, so those fights would seem unlikely. The only fight that potentially could happen would be him going to the UK to fight Khan, right? Because Khan got knocked out against Canelo, so if he loses a close fight to Crawford, it's still a interesting fight.
All right.
Right? And obviously a fight that could sell in the UK very easily. So at this point of Pacquiao's career, going to fight Horn in Australia, fighting Crawford in the UK, this makes great sense.
No, it doesn't. Because first of all, Jeff Horn is not, Jeff Horn is still a prospect, okay? Fighting him and beating him is not considered an all-time great win. All right, let's be honest here. Oh man, this is as worse as you trying to legitimize Golovkin's opponents like Milton Tapia, for example. All right, I'm Milton Nunez, and Nelson Tapia. Oh man, you are funny, man. You a joke, real talk, unbelievable. But let's continue.
And people who can't see that, who would rather just criticize it and shit on it, don't see how this is beneficial for boxing as a whole.
Well, did you criticize Floyd Mayweather for fighting Andre Berto? Yeah, did you criticize him for fighting Marcos Maidana twice? Yeah, you did. Didn't you criticize him for fighting Robert Guerrero, even though Guerrero was his mandatory? Which I did criticize Floyd for those fights as well. Although, Guerrero was his mandatory, so you can't really fault him for that. Like you always, you want people to not fault Golovkin for fighting his mandatory in Dominic Wade, which I don't. But at the same time, you see the contradiction there. Let's continue.
Like, these kind of big attention fights that are world-based fights bring a lot more attention. World media covers these fights and talks about them.
Well, first of all, Jeff Horn is not a world-class fighter yet, dummy. He's not even proven on world level yet. What are you talking about? That's what you're referring to? Jeff Horn is a world-based fighter? Oh, man, get the fuck out of here. Let's keep continuing.
They get a lot more attention than just American-based fights. But people would rather that not happen. They'd rather look for any way to criticize it because Manny wants $20 million guaranteed, as if that's really a fucking issue. Right?
Well, it is because if you think about it, let me stop. He got 20 guaranteed to fight Tim Bradley, right? His official guarantee was $7 million for the fight with Bradley, but the other 13 was an incremental payment that will be sent. According to Bob Arum, it was going to be sent via check within 2 weeks after the fight with Bradley, the third Bradley fight, right? So if you put the numbers together, plus the lion's share, him and Bradley got $4 million plus the lion's share, and Manny got 20 plus the lion's share, right? So that's $24 million plus the other purses that were paid for that fight. and they only drew 440,000 buys. With the other production costs and marketing dollars spent, HBO took a big loss on that fight. Okay, they took a huge loss on that fight. So you can see why they didn't refuse to fund the Pacquiao Vargas fight. Okay, because knowing that Manny Pacquiao is going to want to guarantee 20 million to fight whoever he wants to fight, that was going to be a problem. So now you can see why people are a little concerned about this, because his last two, again, I have to repeat myself, the last two pay-per-views were a bomb. Okay, so if you want $20 million, you need to fight someone that's more on more than a higher caliber level than Crawford. I just don't see anyone at this point that he can make $20 million off of. I mean, let's think about it. Maybe Canelo Alvarez, if he fights him at a catchweight. Or, Canelo can't go to 154 anymore, so maybe he goes up to middleweight, fight somebody like Canelo Alvarez. That would be a huge fight that he can make $20 million. All right, but let's continue. That'd be an intriguing fight, to be honest with you, but let's continue.
Money is only an issue when certain fighters are asking for it. When other guys are asking for it, then it's perfectly okay.
No, actually, you've criticized other fighters for doing the same thing, like Danny Jacobs, Peter Quillen, and Billy Joe Saunders for the Golovkin fight. When they priced themselves out, they wanted more money, and Golovkin is notorious for not giving high-profile fighters the splits that they want for, or compromisal splits. He always wants to low blow the offers with them. So you didn't criticize. You criticized them for doing, for pricing themselves out. But you refuse to criticize Golovkin for doing the same thing to Canelo Alvarez, who has yet to see a big payday of 8 figures or more, plus a lion's share. So you see, there's another contradiction on your part. Let's continue.
Then guys talk about, why would I fucking worry about other people's money? Why would I put my hands in other guys' pockets? Right? This kind of fucking statement that you hear all the time.
It's not saying the word fucking, man. It's like fucking is your word. Is your favorite word you like to use.
Do I feel that the Crawford-Pacquiao fight is going to happen? Yeah, I feel it's going to happen in 2017. I figure Crawford is going to fight, I don't know if Ricky Burns is going to happen. He already beat Burns, so does anybody really want to see it? The only interesting thing is you could do that fight maybe in New York City. Ricky Burns is Scottish. Maybe...
I would love to see the fight, but Ricky Burns don't want it because he got really humiliated by Crawford in their fight. So
he already beat him. We would expect that he would beat him far easier the next time around. If he went to Africa to fight in Dolob, that would be interesting.
Man, you're bad with pronunciations. It's Julius Ndongo, stupid. Yeah, Julius Ndongo is the same guy who knocked out Edward Tronovsky, the same guys that you and other had claimed was going to be the boogeyman for Terrence Crawford. Knocked him out in 48 seconds in the first round. I think it was about 60, something around that neighborhood, around 60 something, 50 seconds, something around there. It was under a minute. Knocked him out with a crunching left. So, besides the point, I would love to see that unification with him and Crawford. That would be a good fight.
We know Crawford has a good connection with Africa. He spent a lot of time over the last few summers there helping the poor and just being involved. So obviously he's a bit of a name in Africa as well. So if he went there, like Ali going to fight Foreman in Zaire, if he went to South Africa, neutral ground, what's his face is from Namibia, it's close. I mean, you could drive there from his house to South Africa. And Crawford went. A lot of big cruiserweights as well, who are African-based fighters, who you could also put there. So you could see that financially, he could get paid big bucks, right?
How do you know that?
Carry it.
That's only speculation.
An African fight, that would make tons of sense. And if I was
problem is who's going to fund the fight?
Top Rank, I would sort of push for that. It's a unification fight.
Who would fund the Julius Ndongo and Terrence Crawford fight to be held in Zambia?
You do that fight like June.
Oh Lord.
You have Pacquiao fight in April in Australia, and then you have those guys meet in November for a super fight. Both guys coming off of big wins.
Wrong. It's not a super fight. It's a good fight, but it won't be a super fight. Let me tell you a definition of a super fight. A super fight is a situation where you have two established fighters who've done what they can do, They've proven themselves. They fought the best of the best in their divisions, and people are waiting for them to collide with each other. I'm gonna give you an example. When Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler fought, that was a super fight because Hearns moved up from 147 and he was destroying people at 154, and Hearns was doing this, and Hagler was doing the same thing at middleweight. So that was a fight that people wanted to see. Okay, another super fight: Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. People wanted that fight for years because the way what Leonard was able to do when he's beating formidable foes like Hearns and Duran. Okay, and Benitez. Another super fight: Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, best of the best. People wanted to see that fight, okay? Because they were fighting the best of the best. They were cleaning out their 147 division. And then the only two guys left to fight, or the only two guys left were those two. That's why they fought each other. All right, so.
You know,
Let's
Crawford
continue.
unifying his third belt at 140. Pacquiao getting a spectacular win against.
Let's stop right there. So let me just say this: a lot of contradictions in your videos, like in this video, like all your videos are. So yeah, Mr. Newton. Oh my God, you are a very hypocritical individual, and yeah, it's good exposing you in this vid. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you for watching. Have a good night.